Okay. Um, as chair of Division 2 of the House Finance Committee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with House Rule 67 and the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. This public meeting is pertaining to a section of HB2 dealing with the merger of the university system and the community college system. Please note that there is no physical location for members of the public to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting. However, in accordance with Emergency Order 1, I am confirming that all members of the committee and select legislative staff have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through the Zoom electronic meeting platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting by the Zoom platform or by telephone. All necessary access information has been made available in the House calendar and through the electronic calendar on the General Court website. The notice for this meeting complies with House rules and RSA 91A. Anyone who has a problem accessing the meeting should email lba_fiscal@leg.state.nh.us. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. LBA staff are on the meeting assisting us. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Representative Petrie, would you call the roll, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Turcott.
Representative Turcott's at my office in Barrington by myself.
There you go. Representative Petrie, I'm here just a dog today in Farmington. Representative Porter.
I'm here. Representative Porter's here in Hillsborough. I'm alone in the room, but my husband and cats are in the building.
Representative Heath.
Mary Heath here in Manchester at home, and I am home alone.
Representative Murray.
Kate Murray is home in Newcastle and alone.
Representative Umberger.
Yes, I'm at my home in Kearsarge, and my husband's in the house, and he may in fact join us later on to listen to our deliberations today.
And we are waiting for a replacement for Representative Lynn.
Okay. Mickey, did you have any luck getting him?
I am actively emailing him, and I think he's just having some issues on his end. I'm not quite sure what they are, but we're trying to get him in here. So.
Okay. Do you want, I have his phone number if you'd like me to send it to you.
Sure.
Okay. I can't remember my own name, much less anything else today. Okay. 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 Um, At our last meeting, I had requested that Representative Turcott get with Representative Heath, Representative Murray, and Representative Porter, and to come up with an amendment. Representative Turcott did that. And this morning I received an amendment from Representative Heath that we will also look at. So Representative Turcott, if you could walk us through your amendment.
I can do that. Before I actually walk you through the amendment itself, I just want to tell you the process that went on so everybody's aware. After you asked us to put together an amendment, what I did is I started working on that on Friday afternoon into the evening, and then by noon on Saturday, I sent out the preliminary draft. In that time period, I received lots of input from a lot of different parties. I just want everybody to know this is a product of input received from Democrats on this committee, Republicans on this committee, CCSNH, University System of New Hampshire, and Governor's Office. So I just wanted to make that clear. When I sent out the preliminary drafts, I said, hey, what I'd like to do is anybody who has any additional input, please let me know by 9 a.m. on Sunday morning. And that way I can incorporate any additional maybe changes that might fit the amendment. And I can say that I did receive quite a few more bits of input here and there, up to and including at 8:59 on Sunday morning when Matt called me. So the document itself, the amendment itself, I'll say is a compilation of all the competing interests. And as everybody on this call is aware, there's a lot of competing interests in this. So what I tried to do is craft a document or an amendment that would hopefully make everybody somewhat happy. And I knew I couldn't convince everybody to be 100% happy, but I tried to do that. To the document itself, I'll make two quick points. A lot of input that I've received since the final went out. The first one is on the April 1st date for reporting. That would be on page 2, line 14. The document right now actually shows August 31st. That is not what went to OLS, and Mickey can chime in if he needs to, but for some reason it came back as August 31st. That is not what was intended. It was supposed to be April 1st. Now I've had more input from individuals about that being too far down the road. The original HB2 date had January 1st of 2022. And quite honestly, I'm not opposed to that. However, I will emphasize that the date in the current amendment of April 1st is on or before. It's not on, it's on or before, which means if the commission were to come up with something sooner than that, they can do it sooner. They can do it, immediately if they need be. But that date again, depending on how our discussions go today, we can talk about that. Let's see, the second issue was, I guess the name, a commission. I've heard several people mention they want it to be called a coordinating council. And quite honestly, I don't really care if it's called, a committee, commission, a council, you can call it whatever you want, call it potato or doorknob, but, you know, as long as basically the structure of this thing is, to me, what's important. So the reason I did the amendment, main reason was I believe that the structure of it, immediately setting up a 15-member board of trustees was not in the best interest. Coming from somebody who has not seen this issue really in the forefront in public to begin with. Now, that might just be me. I pay pretty good attention to politics and things going on in New Hampshire, and it was new to me. So I just think the citizens of New Hampshire deserve a look at this, and that it should be explored a little bit more detail than in putting it in HB2. I'm assuming everybody has had a chance to look at it. I can go through line by line if you want. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I'd be happy to answer the questions on it, why I did things in it, you know, whatever you would like to do, Chairman Unberger.
Okay. Mickey, can you bring the amendment up on our screen so we can look at it?
I'm going to ask Andrea to do that real quick for us, Representative. I'm still working with Representative Murner here.
Oh, okay, that's fine. It doesn't matter.
I'll bring it up on the screen, just one moment.
While she's doing that, I will make one other comment. Originally, when I asked for the initial comments from all the parties, the size of the committee or commission, the numbers that came back to me, those who supplied numbers were 7 and 9. And then I will say at some point, both university system in New Hampshire and community college system in New Hampshire both recommended a higher number, and that number ended up being what you see in there at 11, which again, I'm not opposed to.
Okay. Is there anyone that would like to comment on this amendment that Representative Turcott put out? Okay, I see that Representative Heath.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I want to thank Representative Turcott because I think he did an absolutely outstanding job in putting together this amendment, and it accomplished a lot of things that we wanted in terms of what we saw in HB2 and the conversation that we're having now. And I do also want to say that there are reasons why we couldn't agree and sign on to this amendment. And basically they were details about membership, around timelines, about who the members were. So they just were a number of things. And in light of that, I want to just say, number one, I find this is a far better step, but we just don't feel it's enough at this point. But again, I do want to thank Representative. And I'd also like to mention a couple of folks have gotten back to me, and they've had the idea they'd like to see 4 additional members on the group, whatever we're going to call it, including an accreditor, someone who works with the regional associations. I think that's critical. I know that Barbara Brittingham with the New England Association, I'm not sure what the new name is called now, but might be somebody who could provide either a name, or maybe she'd even be willing to help out. A representative from the 65 by 20 focus group. I think their work has been pretty critical, and I think that's important. And I think they're really critical to the conversation. So the original date was January 1st, 2020, and we just really would like to see it pushed out a little bit more. There are I believe, about 11 unions in this process. And just the complexities of merging unions and all the details that have to occur, I just think are going to take more time. The other issue that wasn't addressed in the amendment is the issue relative to maintaining the separate budgets, and maybe we're going to deal with that elsewhere. But I just think we need to be clear that we maintain separate budgets for both entities throughout this biennium. And also, I hope that a consideration can be, one, given to funding to support this effort, and then again, two, that we provide funding to support the level funding for both institutions. And finally, I just want to say that I have been very upset about the dialogue that we've been having. We have underfunded our university and community college system for years. And they have struggled. They've had to raise tuition. We have one of the highest in the country. And much of this situation is of our own doing. We're not responsible for the decline in enrollment in many of these things, but the situations of the cost of tuition, that is particularly a burden that we need to carry as legislatures. We have not done our due diligence for them. And with that, I will be quiet. I thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Representative Heath. Representative Petrie, I believe you were next.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Trouble is the phone keeps ringing over this issue, some of it. One of the problems I have is the date. I've discussed this with Representative Turcott. We need to have something in place, probably at least January, and the merger should be on its way by that time. The money situation, keeping the classes separate, I think that's another issue that I mirror what Representative Heath just said, and also the accreditation. I think that's very important, as Representative Heath also mentioned. And I think we need to work. I think the union situation, 11 unions, I think that's going to happen whether you put it out there 5 years, 10 years, 2 months. I mean, it's going to be a big issue, and it's going to have to be done. And we expect trouble from that, I would assume. So maybe not. So those are the issues I have. We need to protect the community college system, but we need to make it a nimble organization when it's complete. Thank you.
Representative Turcott.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple comments on what I've heard so far. I think having lived through several mergers in my job and working for our pilots union, I can tell you that the union issue is going to be a huge issue. I'm not going to belabor that point. Keeping money separate, totally agree. The commission, the way it's set up, it gives, you'll notice on, I think it's page 2, there begins a long list of different things they should look at, but it's not limited to that. I would assume that that would be one of the issues they would hopefully take up. Again, Representative Petrie mentioned January 1st. Again, I am not opposed to that. And the last one, Representative Heath mentioned the funding of the university and the community college system. That, I mean, although is an issue, I guess, it's not the subject matter of this amendment. That to me is a totally separate issue. So that's what I have for now. Thanks.
Okay. Representative Heath, did you have your hand up again?
No, Madam Chair, I just didn't take it down. I apologize.
Representative Murray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I really appreciate all the work that Representative Turcott did on this. It's hard to do over the weekend with everyone scattered around. But I need to echo pretty much everything that Representative Heath said. There are other things that I think are considerations in here. There's an odd, I guess, almost a paradox where on the one hand, this is a committee which would be repealed at a certain time. I think in the last iteration, it was June 20th. And the problem I have with that is that I think this needs to be a longer term, however this committee works, and whenever we ask for work results from this committee, is that this to me is more of a long-term committee where people have skin in the game, where they're responsible for some of the work that is done here, not just responsible for exploring and studying and assessing. That I'd like to see that there are people really involved. There are other issues. Some of them have already been mentioned. One, I think Representative Heath alluded to this a little bit, but one of the primary tasks of this committee in going forward in considering the merger is to have an evaluation of the different products that the both systems are producing. And also, I think it'd be important that one of the considerations that they do when they're going forward is to consider a sustainability model for these, for the either one system or the two systems, when the two systems might become one system, but to have a sense of a real plan around sustainability. So on the one hand, it's I think that what's presented here is a short-term kind of a bubble, which does not represent a lot of the things that need to be considered in here. And I'm not sure about having this committee and then form another committee. And then I don't know where that goes from there. So there's just a confusion to me about the way this has been set up and the way what is proposed to do, as opposed to what we had talked about earlier of a committee that is actually designed to do something, to take steps and to be responsible for those steps. So I guess those are my concerns. It is complicated. And I think one of the things that we all agree on is that this is going to take some serious thought. And so this is why, those are my uncomfortable points with this amendment.
Representative Turcott?
Yes, thank you. One of the things that I added very late in the game was on page 3, this on line 2, and that was making sure the commission is aware of and takes into account the final report of the study group for post-secondary education that came out on March 19th, just a few days ago. As I read through that, the first 6 pages was nothing but excellent questions without answers because of the timeline. But I think it just shows and illuminates how many issues are out there. Many of the issues that Representative Murray and Heath has mentioned are in there. And again, the number of questions and unanswered questions that are in there just to me highlights how important getting this right will be.
Okay, are there any other thoughts or comments on Representative Turcott's amendment? Ms. Provencher, you have a question, comment?
Thank you, Representative, and I apologize if the work session is intended only for representatives, but I just did have a couple of comments. We do agree with a January 1st date to reflect the urgency of the work. And the only other point I would make is I would say a 9-member commission may be better without the chief executives from either system for a couple of reasons. A 9-member commission likely may be more nimble, but also the chief executives will likely be coordinating the staffing of this committee, working with any external support, making sure that the committee has what its it, or commission has what it needs to do its work. And the second part is that the CEOs, if Representative Turcotte's amendment goes forward, would be responsible, I believe it's in this language, for being part of the search for a new chancellor, if indeed, oh, am I getting this mixed up? Is that not in Representative Turcotte's amendment?
I believe it's there.
Okay, they would be responsible for choosing their replacement. And also the new CCSNH chancellor will be trying to get his or her feet on the ground and not have context. So, and this new CCSNH chancellor may also be interested, if there were to be a new chancellor position, in applying for that. So my recommendation would be to remove the chief executive and from each system and leave it at 9.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, sorry. Yes, Susan, please go ahead.
Thank you, Representative Umberger. I respectfully disagree and would really love to see whomever the chancellor of the community college system is serving on this group, given how we are organized. I don't know that this individual, perhaps if he or she wanted to be a candidate for the new search, would belong on that search committee. But I do think that this individual would be in a place within the community college system to comment and to orchestrate the resources that the committee might need. So, thank you.
Thank you. Representative Porter?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I guess I'm confused about dates here, so I would like a little clarification. If this amendment passes, it would become effective upon passage, which should probably be something around July 1st, given that this is the budget. And if we are going until April of 2022, that doesn't give a particularly long period of time, I don't think, from July to April to get this work done. Am I reading it right? Are we changing the date to April 1st?
Representative Turcotte, would you mind answering that question, please?
Sure. The date in the amendment is supposed to read April 1st, 2022. You can see the note there on your
Yes.
screen. Again, somehow it came through as August 31st. I think that's because somewhere else in the document it uses that same date, maybe. I'm not sure, but it was supposed to be April 1st. Again, that is a date, think of it almost as a compromise date. I was hearing from one side that it needed to be into the fall of next year. Some people were saying, you know, keep it at January 1st, whatever. And I want to emphasize again what it says, on or before. That means if there are individuals who think this commission can get legislation up and running prior to April 1st, that could be November of this year, it can be December, it can be January 1, then that can happen. It's on or before date. Like I say, I was trying to, in this amendment, to try to be as accepting of everybody's comment as possible, to make it a document that everybody could, you know, get behind.
Right. Thank you. It just seems like the list of things that they need to answer and investigate is lengthy. And as you mentioned, Representative Turcotte, that report that came from the Education Committee had many, many questions to probe and find answers to. And I just am concerned that, again, it's just a little too brief a period of time to do that work well. But I might be underestimating the ability of the members of that committee to work effectively together. So
I think that one of the things that obviously anyone that decides to go on this committee, or, needs to be dedicated to making sure that all of this stuff gets done. They can't sit around for months contemplating whether they should use their left hand or their right hand. They have to get directly down to business. And I think that the work that the Education Committee did is a very helpful tool for them to begin to focus on the kinds of things that need to be done, and that that whomever is chosen will need to make sure that this is not just, well, yeah, I need to go on the committee because. And I would hope that the trustees, or would the chairman, whoever, would explain this to anyone that was selected for the committee, because I know people think we're rushing it. I know people think that we won't be able to give it what needs to be given. I think that's one of the reasons why, hopefully in HB2, we will have the 1.5 million in there to assist the study committee, because it is a huge task. There is absolutely no question about it. And I think that the outside group coming in will also hopefully help to focus this committee. And what the right number of people are is hard to say. Whether it's 9, 15, or 20. And I think that Representative Heath probably made a very good point that someone, if we can find someone from, what's it called, the accreditation people, and I know they just changed their name, so at least I'm not sure that they need to be on the committee, but they certainly need to be involved with whatever decisions might be made on this combining of the two systems. The 65 by 25 group, I believe, has outlined in great detail what they are looking for in the education. And I really believe that is that's important. And again, I'm not sure that they need to have a vote, but they need to be there for consultation, because I think all of us agree that none of us have a complete understanding of what's going on at both the university and the community college. The community college trustees are familiar, of course, with how they operate, and the UNH, or the university system trustees, are knowledgeable about their operation. So it's, initially, I think there's going to be a lot of trying to understand what the other system is doing. It's not like they don't have, neither group has the advantage of having heard not just this discussion, okay? But for many of us over the years, we have learned a lot about the operation of both systems. And so that's just a comment, okay? Representative Turcott, you have a,
Yeah, I hope you don't mind. I just hear things along the way that I'd like to comment in regards to the amendment.
please, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. Somebody mentioned about the selection of Chancellor. I forget who it was. I apologize. But on the third page, line 7, it actually speaks to that. It won't be an individual or two looking to select a Chancellor. That will be the job of the commission itself. So that would be the 11-member commission. As to the number of members, again, I'll repeat that I receive every request from anything from 7 to 15. I think 11 is actually a very good number. You know, the commission will have the ability not only to hire necessary consultants, but I'm assuming the commission, if you have a great commission, they are going to be using or at least getting input from as many sources as required. I'm unfamiliar with the 65 by 20 group. I think, getting an accreditor involved is absolutely a great idea. But I'm just a little hesitant to start putting too many chefs in the kitchen, if you will. I think a dedicated group of 11 is better than maybe a less dedicated group of 15 or 21 or whatever odd number you want to throw in there. And I think, let's see. On the date, back to the April 20th date, one of the representatives, again, I forget who mentioned that, the April 1st date would be a little too quick. However, I would suggest you review the amendment that you'll be proposing, I think, a little bit later. That has a date on it of January 1st, 2022 also. So just something to keep in mind. Thank you.
Okay, is there any further discussion on Representative Turcott's amendment? Representative Murray.
Thank you again. I just it just occurred to me, I had a question or comment. That, the search committee selecting the chancellor, I think, that's a fine idea to have the search committee select the chancellor. But, this committee is repealed at some time later in the year. And I have not seen a situation where one could search and select a chancellor in that short of amount of time. That's usually a big job, taking, I hate to say it, often a year to get that kind of a position filled. So that also, the timeline is a concern to me. I agree that they should be the ones to select the chancellor, but again, I don't see that being a realistic timeline, just from my experience in that regard. Just a comment there.
Okay, thank you very much. So could we, Andrea, switch to Representative Heath's amendment?
Absolutely. Give me just one moment, please.
No problem. Welcome to the group, Troy. I understand you had some trouble getting in.
Thank you. Yeah, I did. I had a little bit of trouble. I'm actually just pushing up on my other screen for the Heath Amendment right now.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad that Mickey was able to help you navigate this whole thing. So, and by the way, welcome to Division 2. And just a little bit, if you have comments or questions, we raise our hand, and I will take those in order of who raised their hands first, second, and third. And so that just works a lot better for us, I think. Okay, Representative Heath, I don't see you on my screen, but I know you're there.
In here, and thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I just want to again thank Representative Turcott. And secondly, as I said previously, the pace at which this whole thing is happening is troubling. And the report from House Ed, I think, further explains the multitude of questions why. So the purpose of this bill is really to study the unification of the university and community college systems. And it just defines the members. And again, it holds true the date of 2022, but this is more of a committee. And it's simply to look at the process, slow down the process, and to make the determination, quite frankly, as whether or not this is action that should be taken. Should the process go forward with the unification of the two systems together, what the pros, what the cons are. We have not done the details of elaborating all of this. We would leave this to this group. And in truth, this amendment certainly needs tons more work. But we wanted just to come forward with something that we felt slowed down the process, kept the conversation open, but really investigated the report provided to us by House Education and distinguished whether or not the order in which things are going to happen will in fact take place. And in fact, we would like consideration for this simply as a simple proposal to say, let's talk about this. Let's use a report from House Ed, and we don't have some of that language in this amendment. And again, I say this amendment needs much more work and consideration, but a simplification of a process, not going in with the predetermined concept of this is a done deal and that we are going to move forward with the merger. This is more of a conversation about should we move forward to have this conversation. And I look to my colleagues, Representative Murray and Porter, to add any comments they wish.
Yes, Representative Murray, please.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think there is so much information out there. We've received a lot of information, and in our time frame, it's been impossible, at least for me, to go through all that information and to make some of these determinations on this. I'm just overwhelmed with, and appreciative, but overwhelmed of all the information that I've been receiving. I've certainly been on the phone with some people, and there are different perspectives on this, but I think there is agreement that something needs to be done. And this at least provides a little bit more breathing space. I wish we could just go right ahead now, and, dig in our heels, hop in the saddle and, get some of the work done. But I think that there's so much information to sift through. It makes me uncomfortable to try to be the one to decide which way this should go. So I prefer this amendment. I would say that I would like that these members to continue in the work, because I do believe strongly that whoever is involved in this has to be responsible for where this goes, has to be responsible for the work that gets done. They need, as I said before, they need to have some skin in the game. But I think this gives a chance, even perhaps, for public hearings, to hear from more than what we've already heard from, and to have a chance to go through the myriad of documents that have been sent my way. Not that I would necessarily be on the committee, but the documents that have been sent to us that we simply have not had a chance to really review. I do want to say, I think that something needs to be done. I don't know what that is. And I would hope to see that this committee can maybe put a schematic, a plan, something in place to help navigate how this is going to go forward. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Representative Porter, were you next?
I don't know, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to say that I reiterate what both Representative Murray and Representative Heath have said. My main concern with this whole thing was the speed that it was happening seemed overwhelming to me. And the purpose of this amendment, I understand, is to slow things down a little bit, give another group a chance to dig into this and come back with information that will help move the thing forward. I appreciate what Representative Turcott did. I think it was very comprehensive. I just think this one slows things down a little bit and gives us some breathing room so we make sure we can get it right when we do it. So that's what I wanted to say.
Representative Petrie?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I think this would be still kicking a can down the road. I think the education community did a fabulous job in putting their study together. I think we have some good groundwork that we can work with. If we push this out to another biennium, I think that's what's going to happen, and it's going to get pushed out again. And before you know it, it won't happen, and we'll be in bigger trouble.
Are there any other comments? Okay. Oh, did you want to say something else, Representative Murray?
Yeah, thank you. Just then, I think, Representative Petrie is making, I think, a very good point of not kicking this down the road. I think, to a certain extent, we've already been doing that. And so what I'm hoping from this group is that this is a group that will take the bull by the horns, look at what needs to be done, and to actually start working on this process. We just, I don't think in a way know how that's going to look, but my hope is that they won't kick it down, that they will take the responsibility and get working on this now. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Mary, Representative Heath, you indicated that this amendment was not ready for prime time. Is that correct?
It does indeed need more detail and more focus, but I just want to emphasize the fact that the real purpose of this amendment is to create a study committee, not a merger committee. I think that we've got to take the time to look at all the things that need to be taken into consideration. And I really think House Ed formulated the questions that need to be asked. And I think if we could spend 6 months doing that, that would give us some time to really think about what we're doing and move forward thoughtfully. Right now, I'm really concerned that we're moving forward without doing the due diligence that we need to do for the purposes and for the souls and missions of each one of our institutions. It's a big step, and somebody's going to lose missing elements of their programs. And I just want to make sure that we've deterred and done the least harm that we can possibly do, and to try to make this a win-win situation for both entities. I would love to see the university and the community college agree on steps to move forward. Right now, I'm feeling like there are concerns, deep concerns on the part of the community college. And truthfully, we have our workforce to look at. I think that the community colleges serve a serious purpose in our state. And I just don't want to compromise either entity. So I just think we need a lot more time. So I just thank you, Madam Chair.
You're quite welcome. So if you thought or think this amendment needs to get some more clarity to it, when could you have this back to us?
I would say today is Tuesday. We could have something, I think if we work together this evening, we could probably pull something together by Wednesday or Thursday.
You're making me nervous.
I agree. We'll try to have something by tomorrow.
Okay. Representative Turcott.
Yes.
There were several suggestions that were made to adjust the amendment that you produced. And in some cases, you said it really didn't matter to you which way it went.
That's correct.
Okay, so do you think you could refine your amendment to make those adjustments by tomorrow?
Oh, absolutely. I can have that done by this afternoon, as long as I know specifically. I heard a bunch of adjustments and I heard a bunch of competing adjustments. The one that I was going to mention that I think I will do, and that will be to change the April 1st date to January 1st. That seems to be, I know that for some people it moves it up quicker, but looking at Representative Heath's amendment, again, that would only be a study committee, but they had the same date in that. So I'm not opposed to doing that. I still believe April 1st is fine, but I can do that. And the only other, I'm trying to go through the issues that were brought up. Really, the only other one I heard was the potential for adding an accreditor 6520 or something like that. But I also heard opposing views. And I think I stated that, I mean, the commission is going to have the ability to hire consultants, do what they want. And I got to believe those individuals, the accreditor and the 6520, will certainly be able to have the opportunity to give their input, and hopefully the commission requests it. So if there was something else in there that I missed that individuals all agree on that needs to be in there, I'm not opposed to changing that. I just have to have that actually delineated to me so I know. But the way I'm looking at it right now, is the date. If there's something else, just let me know.
The number of people, okay, and this is my thought process. You had mentioned, if I'm not mistaken, that you wanted 2 legislators on that committee. And I would prefer that those 2 people come from the governor, because we as a legislature are going to get our opportunity to review that. And I don't know that you mentioned, yes, you did, the Higher Education Committee, that they would report to us every month, I think it was, or every other month. That I believe that that's where the legislative input will come from, because the people on that committee focus only on higher education. That's their purpose. And so from my perspective, I would eliminate the legislators from that. And there are 2 reasons for that. Number one is time. Okay, availability, maybe the right term is availability. In that, sure, over the summer, we are probably more available than we are right now. But as we start getting into September, October, and November, our availability drops off. And so, we can't, in my opinion, we can't have a person on this committee that isn't, that doesn't have the time to dedicate to it. And that's just, that's my feeling. I don't know how anyone else thinks about that or not, but.
What I would ask a question on that one would, you're stating a preference to eliminate the one appointed by the senator, the president of the Senate and the Speaker of the House, keeping the committee at 11 and changing those two to add to appointed by the governor. My initial thought is, would it be a better option, in your opinion, to actually change the number on the committee to 13, keep the 2 appointments from the Senate and House of Representatives, and simply add 2 more? Or do you think it's just better to eliminate the 2?
I personally think it's better to eliminate the 2. Maybe somebody else has a comment on that.
I was going to say, does anybody else have input on that?
The silence is deafening.
Okay, if those are the only 2 issues, like I said, I can have an amendment very quickly, or change this amendment very quickly. That's not a huge amount of issues.
Representative Porter?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Would there be an issue with the timeline for hiring a chancellor? Was that a discussion we had? If this is moving back to January 1st, 2022, but this commission is supposed to work to find a chancellor, is that enough time?
I believe that as written, no, that wouldn't be an issue. What the January 1st date would be is for the commission to actually produce legislation, whereas the chancellor, I have to find it in the commission, shall serve as the committee to elect a chancellor, or to select a chancellor, and I have to look at it more. That would not be the intent. The intent would be for the legislation to be put forward, if there is going to be any, on January 1st. But if this commission would not go away until a much later date, which looks like the 31st or something of 2022. So they would have an additional amount of time to do that. And I suppose, in fact, in the legislation put forward, they could even delineate, hey, now we should also select a chancellor. So I don't see that as an issue. If somebody has a better way for me to word that, I'm open to it.
Catherine, are you still here?
Yes, I am. Sorry.
That's okay.
It took me a minute to take myself off mute.
Well, yeah, fine. What we need to do is try to find the buttons. So generally, we are not calling these people trustees in this amendment. So
right.
would these folks would really not have any authority to hire a new chancellor? Am I?
Well, they would if it's in the law. I think.
Okay, Mary,
This-
are you, are
this-
you, ahead.
Neither amendment forms a new integrated board, right? One forms a commission and one forms a study committee, but neither forms a new board, if you will. Normally a board would hire the chancellor, but if the legislation says this commission would, then I would guess that that provides the authority to hire the chancellor.
Okay, thank you. I just don't want to get crosswise with,
To
Whatever.
Representative Turcotte's earlier point, though, remember that this commission working over a 6-month period, reporting, I believe, monthly to the Public Higher Ed Study Committee, and then recommending legislation by January 1st of 22. That legislation could change that authority, I suppose, if it was the will of the legislators in 22.
Mhm.
thank you. Representative Turcotte?
Yeah, to that point exactly. Again, if you read on page 3 of the amendment, line 7, the commission shall serve as a search committee to select a chancellor once legislation has been submitted. Once it's been submitted, should the commission recommend a single chancellor? So that line right there, I believe, answers those questions.
Okay, thank you. Representative Murray?
Thank you. Yeah, I have a real problem taking the power to hire a chancellor away from the university system. I think, to me, that's a bit of an overreach. It's the university system and the community college systems should be the ones to hire their own chancellor. So that's a pretty big problem for me.
Kathy, would you like to comment on that?
Well, I guess I would say of the 11 members of this commission, 8 do come from the community college system and the university system. I will, to Representative Murray's point, that this is unusual that a commission would engage in a search, but frankly, the whole discussion is unusual. We're thinking about the future of public higher education in New Hampshire for the next number of decades. So I guess it does, without some kind of authority. Let's just, if I think through the timing, let's say there's legislation introduced in 2022 to integrate the two systems. That would, let's just keep playing this through. So then maybe there'd be a new board established July 1st of 22, if it were to be passed and adopted. Then there's going to have to be integration plans and all of that. And then the board is going to have to engage in a search for a chancellor. So now we're probably out until 6, 9, 12 months later before there were a chancellor. Now, I suppose if you play this out, a new board could hire an interim chancellor while there was a search ongoing. But the idea to get a chancellor in as soon as possible, if this is going to move forward, is in my opinion, the best thing that could be done to actually start integration, if it's determined that that's the right path.
Okay, thank you. Representative Heath?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thinking of this, it almost seems premature to hire a chancellor, and not having the university system and the community college system be those driving that process concerns me greatly. But truly, what this process will need is more of a CFO or a person who is an engineer of how to make this work. Because I don't think it would be a chancellor, maybe it would be a temporary person to bring in place, and they would have the authority to move forward. But ultimately, I don't think we want that person to be the long-term chancellor. I think we need someone that, I guess what I'm saying is we really need a project manager to iron out the details. This is going to be a horrific process when you think of all the details that have to take place. So I just think we have to be careful about jumping to a chancellor as a first step. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Susan, yes.
Thank you, Representative Umberger. I think it was the last time that this group met, I talked about the fact that we are going forward with a search for a chancellor with a 2-year contract. So the community college will have leadership in place at least through July 2023. And we chose that particular date because that matched the original language that had come from the governor's office. I agree with Kathy's laying out of the timeline, and also agree with the representatives who are making the point that the board should be hiring the chancellor. So I only say this to give you an indication that the community college has people in place that can continue to lead through whatever the transition process is.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, Susan, you would recommend that the university system hire a chancellor for a 2-year period, that the board of trustees right now should go out and try to hire someone for a 2-year period, the same as the community college system did. Am I understanding that correctly?
No, ma'am. I would not presume to tell the university system what to do. I'm purely speaking about what the community college system is doing. We go back to some of my original statements, very different missions. So my comments are only about the community college system. Thank you for the opportunity to clarify.
Oh, come on. You're leaving in June, so let's stick our necks out, okay?
Well, yeah, not, even if I weren't leaving in June, that is not a block that I wish to put my neck up upon. But thank you for that questionable opportunity. No, this is, we go back to what so many people are saying, this is very, very important. And I'm going to be parochial and represent the interests of the community college and say that we're in a place where we can go forward with whatever change it is the legislature recommends and still have leadership so that our system of 7 is intact. What the university system wants to do is for the university system to figure out, but thank you.
Okay. So before we realize that that we're not going to put our necks on the chopping block, Kathy, what do you think of the concept of your board or your trustees hiring someone for a 2-year period? And then Lynn, I will get to you.
I don't think it's my board's intention to hire someone for a 2-year period. We have a transition plan in place right now. The duties of the chancellor have been split between myself and President Dean. And so for the interim period, I believe that will be my board's approach.
Shouldn't drink. I shouldn't drink coffee. Representative Turcotte.
Yeah, once again, I'd like to read the language from line 7 on page 3. I think this discussion, unfortunately, is a little bit off into the weeds. maybe I should start with the last part of it first. Should the commission recommend a single chancellor, the commission shall serve as a search committee to select a chancellor once legislation has been submitted. So this is up totally to the decision of the commission that's being put together. So I think the discussion, it's okay, but I think that sentence kind of takes care of everything people are looking for.
What line was that, Representative Turcott?
It's line 7 on page 3 of the amendment.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, so it appears to me that we have no consensus, if that's the right term, on how we should go. I think we have 3 options. Option 1 is use the governor's language as it is. Option 2 is to use the Turcott amendment as he is going to make some adjustments. And option 3 is to use the Representative Heath's amendment with some changes. So it would seem to me that even though I had hoped that we could come to some conclusion today and actually take a vote on something, that we're not there yet. And I just, we're not there. And so is Mickey there?
I'm here.
Okay, thank you, Mickey. Do we have to have a finalized amendment before we can vote on it? Or can we have a draft amendment that would be sent to OLS once we do our voting?
That's up to you as chair of Division 2. We've done it both ways in the past. So if it's a couple edits to a document that already has been drafted, and the understanding is the motion would be to vote on an amendment with, this edit to be drafted by our office and bring back to the committee later, we could do that. That's up to you.
Okay, so if we decided to do that, we could perhaps make that process a little quicker. In other words, maybe instead of Thursday, we could come back to Wednesday afternoon.
I mean, my sense is we would be able to, I could work with Representative Turcott, Representative Heath, and we could turn around amendments for tomorrow based on today's discussion. If based on tomorrow's discussion and those amendments, you wish to make tweaks and vote on it, we could probably get through that and do that tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. Kathy, you have your hand raised?
I think you're much closer together than it might appear. Representative Heath's amendment has 5, 5, and 5 members, and Representative Turcott's has 4, 4, and 3. And Representative Turcott's amendment, it sounds like, was going to change the date to January 1st, which is the date in Representative Heath's amendment. So it seems like you're much closer than it might appear on between the two.
Yes, I don't disagree with that. It's just a question of how we want to frame whatever's going on for the next year. that's kind of where I am. So, Representative Heath, I don't think that we can have people outside the legislature without a commission. I think that's kind of how we frame that. So
Yes. Sorry, Madam Chair.
that needs to be a commission.
Yes.
Okay.
And I know that just from years of experience with that. I didn't even think of that. Thank you.
We all have things that we don't tend to remember all the time, like dates and so on. So, okay. All right. I think we will end this discussion on these two amendments unless there is someone else that has comments or questions or suggestions. Okay, seeing none, we will end this discussion. Mickey. Oh, there you are. Is there anything else that we could do today?
I don't think so. We're compiling what should hopefully be the last set of amendments proposals from members of the committee. We're going to try to get all that compiled today. And then by the end of the day today, I'll have distributed to everyone and we'll post online the amendments for discussion for tomorrow and potentially Thursday if we leak into Thursday. So as far as today, I don't have anything new. We were very productive yesterday to get a lot of things off of our plate. And I think the final actions at this point for Division 2 are going to be the ones for longer discussions for tomorrow. And like I said, we're still compiling those amendments.
Okay. I got a update from Representative Weiler last night. It appears that the full Finance Committee is going to meet on March 30th. Okay, for executing the House Bill 2. And also it appears that the presentation to the legislators is going to be on April 5th. That should be in the calendar that comes out this week. Again, those are our dates that we talked about. As I said yesterday, things can change. And but as I learn anything new, I will certainly keep you up to date on that. So is there, I can't believe we got this, not even 11:30. We probably could have gone on for hours on this discussion as we have, but I really thought that it was better just to let us move forward with these two amendments, and we'll see what happens. Representative Porter, this is your last day with us.
Oh, isn't that sad? I just was
Very
wondering, Madam Chair, I was looking at the list we worked from yesterday, and when we were talking about the Running Start program, the dual enrollment, we had another amendment that we were not sure whether funding was going to go for implementing, for money needed to run the program. And I was just wondering if that's something we have to rewrite. Is that another amendment? I should just ask Mary, but I'm going to ask you.
That's okay. We will be discussing that tomorrow.
Okay.
Marjorie. There is, I think we had mentioned about moving the Running Start or dual and concurrent enrollment.
Yeah.
into the community college and letting them manage the program.
Yes, we did that
Okay.
vote yesterday, but then there was the question of whether from the funding,
Right.
they could
And
use money.
so, yeah, and so I think at least I have a plan, if that's the right term.
Okay.
Whether or not everyone agrees with it's a different story, but I have a plan to put, what'd we say, Mickey, $1 million?
Yes.
$1 million each year into the dual and concurrent enrollment. So that's what will,
That's in the works.
yeah.
I hated to leave that little thing up in the air before.
No, I'll put it this way, there's some things that I am really fervent about, and that happens to be one of them. So, a lot of other things, so what, but that is a program that has really helped a lot of students. And I know kids that are graduating early from high school because of the dual and concurrent enrollment program. And then they are going on to, to college. So it's a great program. So I'll be quiet about it. I could talk for hours, right, Shannon? On this. Okay. So 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. And hopefully we'll get through the things that we need to. Mickey, do you have a comment?
No, I'm just going to add that this is crunch time. So if there are any amendments, anything you want to fund in House Bill 1 or reduce in House Bill 1 or add in House Bill 2 or take out anything. So now's the time to get them into me, and we'll put them on our working documents for the rest of the week.
One other thing that we have is SB 82. And Mickey, do we need to take that up before we close out the budget or after? It's funding for 21.
Yeah,
right?
it's actually, essentially you can appropriate the money and spend it anytime, but the nature of that bill is to provide payments that were based on fiscal 20 and fiscal 21 kindergarten programs. So if you recall how the adequate education formula works, there's a year behind lag really in student counts for the payments made. So what happens is for districts that start a brand new kindergarten program, they don't actually see the full adequacy for those kindergartners until the following year. Senate Bill 82 would seek to provide the money for the back years for fiscal 20 and fiscal 21 for those first 2 years that we were doing full kindergarten adequacy. So we have a fixed number. It's about $2 million that would cover all that. Senate Bill 82 passed the Senate and has been referred to Finance. We haven't had a public hearing on it. So there was a similar provision in House Bill 623 that we retained. And it would be up to the committee if you wanted to add language of Senate Bill 82 into your budget proposal and the funding.
Okay, so we would just, we would not, we would just incorporate the idea into the budget. Is that what I'm hearing you say? Into HB2?
Yeah, we could put an amendment in House Bill 2. It would just be carried as a surplus statement adjustment to recognize the spending that DOE would make in accordance with those sections. And there is appropriation language in Senate Bill 82 as well to make it clear how much is for this purpose.
Okay, so when you have an opportunity, please take a look at that bill and see what the thoughts are. So Representative Heath, I think you were first.
I am. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I just want to say that in reference to that bill that we just discussed, I think you will find that the minority will be very much in favor of this. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Representative Murray?
Yes, thank you. Just so I understand. So this bill has been referred to House Finance. So we're not going to look at this until after crossover, which is after we've done our work here. Is that basically, right?
No.
Okay, okay. Do correct me.
I'm sorry, that was, um, anytime that a Senate bill is sent over to the House, we can begin work on it. Okay, if you will notice, in this week's calendar, there were lots of hearings on Senate bills. And so that is, if it's come, crossover is just the final date that all bills have to be sent. But they
Okay,
can
thank
be
you.
sent whenever.
Then I will print it out right now. Thank you.
It's pretty short, actually. Is there anything else that anyone has? Okay, I think you all want to get out of here. So please have a nice afternoon. I know that some of you have lots of work to do. And Troy, would you mind sending me your email?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, I'm at karenumberger@gmail.com. It's pretty easy. Okay. So
Mhm.
if you could do that, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Is there, if there's nothing else, then we will see you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Thank you all for what you do. Appreciate it. Bye.
Bye.